Hey everyone, Pete here. This is what I look like. I thought I'll start a kind of a bit of a vlog style video series on the general stuff I've got going on with Route CNC, and today I've got a bit of a task on of getting a tangential cutter that would be on my Route 4 Lite that you might have seen in other videos, transferred to my slightly larger machine, the Route 4, to get the inserts for the Route controllers made. As you know, I've been slowly increasing volumes on the root controllers, and it's getting to the point now where I need to get some foam cut out so it makes it easier to package. At the moment I'm currently just wrapping it up in bubble wrap and sticking it in a cardboard box and shipping it, whereas now I have got, ooh, I don't know if you can see down there, it's tracking my face, but I've got some sheets of foam that I need to cut out. And when I was doing my testing, I did it all on the Route 4 Lite that is here. If I can flip you around, that was all done on the Route 4 Lite here. Hence why we've got a load of extra drivers on this controller. So here's the sheet, and here is the tangential cutter. So where are we? So here's the tangential cutter, and I want to get that mounted on that spindle over there. So it might be wise to kind of start off with what is a tangential cutter, and simply put, it's just basically it's a glorified jigsaw that can change its rotation of where it's cutting so it can follow a line. So I don't know if you can see here, this thing rotates clockwise and counterclockwise, and it can do a complete 360, and it oscillates like a jigsaw. And for me, what I'm going to do is put one of these style blades in. Oh, it's already come out, so I don't know if you can see that. So one of these style blades in the end, and it will oscillate back and forth, and it will follow the path that I tell it to via a SVG file from Inkscape, using a free bit of software, I think called Gerbil Plotter, I believe. It's on GitHub. It's a pretty cool piece of software. But yeah, so that's what enables this to kind of cut out stuff, and it oscillates and cuts out foam, cardboard, and all that kind of, and even fabrics if necessary. You can get different size blades, but I'm going to just pick one suitable for the thickness of material. And all this does is has a brushless motor on the front, with which is a censored variant of a brushless motor, and then a stepper motor on the top just to control the rotation axis. It also has a homing sensor in there that you might be able to see with the blue cap, just so each time you turn on the machine you can home it so it knows where to begin. And because I didn't know if I was going to use this at all, I've got it so it clamps onto a 65mm spindle, so that kind of like bolts on the front wherever we are, if I can get it. I'm still learning this camera, and then that kind of like clips onto the spindle like so, and it needs wiring in. Now at the moment my electronics cabinet does not have enough for a fourth axis. I've only got the 4 drivers there. I think I've got a space to put one extra in, so there's, you might be like, oh, you got 4 there, but no, 2 of them are for Y. So we've got one X, 2 Y, 1 Z. So I need to add a 5th one for the rotation axis of the tangential cutter, and I also need to get the brushless DC motor driver in there as well. All of this is fairly trivial wiring. It just needs to be powered, connected to the motors, and control signals coming off from the root controller. This is a slightly older model. This is the Rev 2.1. The new Rev 3, I haven't got around to updating this. There's no real need for me. This works perfectly well. It's been working for a couple of years now. So all I need to do is take off the laser port and take off another axis and wire in the tangential cutter. Right, so I need to take apart this one. In another video I'm going to replace this with a Route controller Rev 3, and I'm going to remove these latter 2 brushless DC motor driver and stepper motor driver from this setup, so I can transplant it into the Route 4. Cue the time lapse. Right, this is a convenient place to just do quickly explain what I've done. I've ran 3 cables in total. One of them is just a 3-core mains cable that we can see here. This will be used to drive the actual brushless motor that does the vibration on the tangential cutter, and then the other 2 is just signal wires and stepper motor wires for the stepper motor that sits on top of here, as well as the encoder for the brushless motor and the home switch. So all I've done is run it down the cable drag trains down the side, and then all the way down here. Hang on. There we go, all the way down here, through the underneath, and then they come out here, hey, where I need to get them through that grommet at the back into the cabinet, and then get the stepper motor and brushless DC motor driver installed. Hey everyone, it's another day, but what you've just seen me do is get the tangential cutter mounted onto the existing spindle. So with this kind of design, it's kind of just temporarily mounted onto the spindle until something more permanent gets made. But for now, it's mounted and the cable's been ran and soldered, as you've seen. Now it hasn't gone as swimmingly as I would have liked, and I will show you if I can. So there's the actual tangential cutter with the rotation axis and the thing. All the cables are there, but the issue is in the electronics cabinet. Unfortunately, this driver takes 24 volts, and as you can kind of see, there isn't much room left in there. So I've got the 4th axis or the rotation axis stepper motor driver mounted in that far corner there, and that's wired into a spare port on the root controller. The root controller's got 6 axes it can control, so this is the 5th one on this machine because there's 2 on the Y. I've run the homing switch for the rotation axis, got the stepper motor driver in there, and what I've done normally is just wired out the actual brushless motor that's in the tangential cutter that makes it go up and down to some leads that I'm going to have to mount the tangential cutter outside the box. It just purely because I haven't got space for another 24 volt power supply. I've got a 12 volt and a 12 volt and a 36 volt power supply. This power supply does the stepper motors, and this power supply powers the root controller and the LEDs, I believe. So unfortunately, it doesn't run at 12 volts. It needs 18 and above. And whilst this does go up to, I can't remember, like 50 volts, the actual motor I've got on the tangential cutter doesn't. It only goes up to 24. So I haven't got a spare power supply lying around. I'm just going to temporarily mock it up. This thing might not stay on this machine. I just need it so I can cut the big sheets out. Likelihood is it's going to come off pretty quick. So it's nice that I've got the 4th axis in, but it's not a complete solution as I would have liked. So I might have to just leave the door open whilst I'm running that and just connect the power supply into them 2 leads there. Right, next bit that I'm going to probably do off camera is configure a separate configuration file that will be loaded onto the root controller. Right, so I've got the thing configured, and I've got 2 configurations on this machine now. One is the original base, I call it the base version, that just does the CNC functionality, and then the other one is the tangential cutter. So I'll show you what that looks like on the web terminal, just so you can see the 2 YAML files, and I'll give you a quick demonstration of what a tangential cutter is and how it looks like and how it behaves on the machine. And then later on, hopefully I'll get a chance to cut some foam out, but time's getting on, so we'll see how we get going. But let's hop over to the computer and see what's going on. Alright, I don't know if, oh, there's a load of glare there. Whew. So I don't know if you can make that out, but I've got 2 YAML files, and you can just command in the terminal just to select between the two. So at the moment I've got the tangential one done. I know you might be able to see if I bring this up a little bit. We've got taken over the grub screws, so we should be able to change the rotation of that. That should be pretty quick. And then back again. So that's doing a full 360 degree spin. We could go beyond that if we wanted to. So what, that's 720, isn't it? So that's the rotation axis A, and then we can also turn on the up and down motion. So this is just I think this is 400 Hertz, but I can easily change it to be 2000 Hertz. Obviously it's quite loud, but so when you're cutting it will be at the faster rate. I think this goes up to like 3,500 RPMs, so quite fast. I don't think I went as fast as that when I was cutting the foam on the previous machine. And you might notice there's a little bit of clicking sound, and that's just because the oh, I'm stalling it, maybe go a little bit faster. That's just because I didn't turn down the little cam follower inside particularly well on the lathe, so there's a little bit of slop. So you can see it goes when you put a bit of pressure down, the vibration goes. So that's that. So like I said earlier, the electronics cabinet couldn't fit the power supply in, so this is what I resorted to. I've got a power supply on the floor with a cable. Let's just turn that off a second. I've got a power supply with that's a 24 volt power supply going into the brushless DC motor driver, and then that's kind of fed in into the root controller and then up through the cabinet wiring, and then I've got the fourth axis there as well. So everything is looking good. I've since connected it to the Wi-Fi. I did have an external antenna, but it didn't work particularly well. I think I've got a dodgy cable, SMA cable. It works perfectly fine with the antenna plugged in. As soon as I put it on the outside, it doesn't work, even with our new Wi-Fi. So that's that. Let's go and try and get some test cuts done. Right, off camera I did a test run and it was a success. I didn't realise the camera wasn't running, so in the meantime I've had dinner, walked the dog, and I'm starting fresh with some more coffee to get another piece done so I can show you how it was done and the results I got. And then after that I've got a mock-up of one of the inserts, one of the foam inserts that goes in the packaging, so we'll give that a go hopefully today as well. As you can see, it's got dark outside, so let's crack on with this one and see how we get on. That'll serve me right for not turning on the power supply, that separate 24 volt power supply you saw on the floor. Clearly I didn't put enough double-sided tape to hold this down. Live and learn. So hopefully, if I can carefully, I've used a bit of carpet tape on this to keep this down. I'm on a bit of a discovery to work out what's the best method to hold this down. So if you've got any suggestions, leave a comment below. Oh, it's gone Pete Tong in it. So well, there you go. That's what the tangential cutter does. Cuts foam out. Perfect. Now, I know what you'll all be asking. Pete, why don't you just use a laser cutter? It'll be done in a fraction of the time, and the cut quality will be near perfect anyway. And I suppose there's two main reasons. One, I don't have a laser cutter, not certainly one as big as the sheets that I'm planning on cutting. They're rather expensive. And two, I don't have a means of dealing with the fumes that it produces. So even if I did have a laser cutter, I need to spend equal amount of money on a decent fume extractor to deal with the harmful gases that will come from burning it. With this approach, no material's being burnt, we're just cutting it with a knife. As simple as that. It's quite clean, there's not a lot of mess, other than the bits that I get left behind when I break a bit. So it turns out that it makes it a bit more easier for my machine, with the space I've got, to be able to swap between doing side panels for orders for other route CNC machines, and then swapping it out to do packaging. It doesn't have to just do foam, it can do cardboard, fabrics and all that stuff, but for now I'm only mainly interested in foam. I might go more eco-friendly with cardboard packaging material later down the line, but that's just another step up in cost that would ultimately pass on to the person purchasing a controller. So for now I'm trying to save cost whilst making an elegant way of packaging the controllers. So I think for now that's a success. I'm going to try and work out a better way of securing it down, because the tape is still stuck on the bottom, or use a tape that isn't as sticky to this particular foam. This foam is slightly different to the foam I've got over there. And yeah, see how it goes. I've got the front slice, it's made up of 3 slices, and I've got the front slice modelled ready to go. So I'll go on the computer, get them files, and then work out a better way of mounting it. But I think for this episode, we're going to leave it there. As you can see, huge success. Got a nice foam R printed out and a nice coaster. I mean, that's a huge success for what I wanted to get done today, at least. It's taken 2 days to get to this point of just moving from one machine to another, so that's great. In the next episode I'm probably going to continue on with this, or my plan has changed over a day, that I was going to put a Route 3 a route controller Rev 3 on my Route 4 Lite over there that you saw earlier, the bit that I took this off. Now I've got another project in the pipeline that I might put on that instead. It'll make wiring a hell of a lot easier, and I think you'll all like that, so stay tuned. It might be in the next episode, it might not be, but please like, comment, subscribe if you think I've done a good enough job. Please hit that thumbs up, and yeah, stay tuned. This is the first time I've done this, so if you like the material, let me know. If you want to critique it, give me some constructive feedback, then you know I'm always willing to receive that. And if you want to get the files for any of the machines, the links are below and on GitHub. The tangential cutter at the time of filming isn't on GitHub, but I do intend to put that on there. And likewise, if you want a root controller, they're currently out of stock, but more stock has been ordered, so hence why packaging is all getting done. So yeah, link for one of them is down below. So thanks for watching, I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks, bye.